Awesome. All right, so the problem that Danielle and I chose to tackle today is this container with most water. And I suppose we should take a minute right off the top and just say, like, why are we here and why are we the people talking about it? So as I mentioned, I'm a Women Who Code lead. I'm a software engineering manager. I work for the Bank of Montreal, which acquired the company that I previously worked for, which was an electronic trading company called Clearpool Group. So I have about 6 years of experience, and I just love working on coding screens with people. Danielle, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So hello, I'm Danielle. I'm a director for Women Who Code New York. I'm also a software engineer at Heroku, a lead software engineer. I work on their JavaScript platform. So if you've ever run JavaScript on Heroku, that's probably gone through me. What else? Oh yeah, I'm a part-time grad student at NYU studying cybersecurity. So yeah, I'm interested in security. What else? That's my experience. Yeah, I have about 8 years of experience, professional kind of like coding and programming. Really got into more like back-end stuff about 6 years ago. And yeah, that's it. Excited to be here.
Very cool. Thanks, Danielle. All right, so let's read through this question. Given n non-negative integers, a of 1, a of 2 through a of n, where each represents a point at coordinate I, a of I, n vertical lines are drawn such that the two endpoints of line I think, are at I, a of I, and I of 0. Find two lines which together with the x-axis forms a container such that the container contains the most water. Can't slant the container, and n is at least 2. So Danielle, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I had to read it a couple times because I wasn't quite sure what the output was supposed to be, but I do have it now.
Yeah, the image for this one was really important. I think if you were to hear this problem in a code screen where you don't have the image associated, I would definitely want to draw it out first because that's where I'm getting the most information from. And yeah, the output is the sum basically of how much water you would be able to contain in here. Which, and tell me if you think that I'm right here. Is it or it's the sizes of all of them, correct? So it's like between here and here.
Yeah, it would be the square footage. Yeah. Or square unit. Someone requested that we zoom in. I don't know what the orientation will be if we, oh, okay, zooms in, it looks fine, great. Is that okay? I don't know who asked that question, but Courtney. Yep, okay, good. Yeah, so
I think that I have a general idea of this, but so as you pointed out, the answer would be the amount of space that this container can hold of water, correct? So what would be, and do you want to do this in JavaScript?
We can do whatever.
Let's do JavaScript. You can just tell me whatever I get wrong because JavaScript is not my best language.
Okay.
So what do you think our math output is? What's the calculation that we'd be using?
It's going to be, well, I guess I just want to like maybe start by, so we know like what our output is supposed to be, but I think like maybe we want to, if I were in an interview, I would ask maybe like, do I have any constraints, like memory constraints? So for instance, like, am I allowed to create another array? Like, do I have space for that? Am I like, do I have like, as far as like runtime constraints, do I only want this to be like performing a linear equation at any time, or can we perform like quadratic, which would be like, you know, an n squared instead of just n? Those would be my first questions before I even like attack this, because, oh, hold on, my computer has got Slack messages coming in. totally gonna blow my concentration, my focus. Okay. Oh no, my Zoom thing just went. Hang it. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So that would be the first thing, yeah. And then like input output, as far input looks like a set, or not a set, an array, because we do care about order. And output is a unit, which we assume is like a square unit of some sort, which is an integer, a positive integer. I don't think it would ever be 0, but yeah, so we're assuming it's a positive integer.
Right. Yeah, and I'm guessing just looking at this, that the number that we're going to end up using is the lower of the two heights that we're using as our container. Right, which makes sense, right? Because looking at our example, this lower right-hand bound is size 7, and our output is 49.
Yes, so that would be, yeah, that'd be like the example there. So if we have our input,
yeah, I think those are all awesome questions. I don't think that we have any limitations, at least just in LeetCode terms. Usually when you have this sort of problem, like they'll tell you straight up if it's like can't be quadratic, or if you're not allowed to, as you said, like create a duplicate array. So I don't at least see any of those. So I think that we're good to start. So just at a high level, like if you were to encounter this problem, what would your initial plan be for how to tackle it?
So the first thing I would do is simplify it. So this is, I think, just like looking at this, I'm like, oh, like I have like, I think there's like a few things that might be distracting in this. One is that it is the input length is not, you know, it's not 1,000, but it's what, 10 numbers, which that could be distracting or disorienting to someone and say, oh, I have to like solve all of this at one point. And I think the second distractor is that the answer happens to correspond to the two highest ones. And I actually think that that is on purpose because like, let's say that my input is all ones, except for maybe like 1,000 at the end. So, you know, but then it's like 2,000 ones. I have a length of input of 2,000, and then they're all ones. And then my last one is 1,000. And then I'm still going to get my answer is not going to correspond with one of the highest ones. It's actually going to correspond with like the two lower inputs, if that makes sense. So I guess going back to what I'm saying is that like, also I think it might be a mistake to look at, oh, what are my two highest ones, because that might not always be the case.
And we can see that even in this example here,
yeah,
that if you were to just blindly choose the 2 bars that go to 8, you actually wouldn't have as large of a container, because if you stretch out and use this second, or this, I guess it's the first 7 in the list, the last one, because you get these 2 square units additional, it actually is a greater capacity than if you were to click, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but if you were to choose the other 8 as your top one. So it's a good point.
Yeah. So the first thing I would do is simplify this input and just like choose maybe like 3 or 4 numbers out of that array, and then solve it for that, so that it's easier to kind of pseudocode out. So let's say I want to do like 8, 2, 4, 7. And then that way I can kind of, for me, it's a little bit easier to think through, okay, how would I solve this? And then the second, also another point is that I'm kind of like seeing that maybe there is a way to solve this, but I know that it might not be the optimal way. So that's why I want to simplify it at first and solve it in kind of like the most naive way. And then after I've solved that, I would shrink it back and say, okay, how can I optimize this? Because I might run into a step on the way and say, oh wait, we don't have to do that here. Let's try something over here, like optimize it in this area. So
can we jump into a little bit of code? So
yeah.
what would be the first one? So like, I think for me, my initial instinct right or wrong. And I know I said this at the start, but I'll repeat it. We're not claiming that we're experts in this in any way. This is just two chicks trying to get through some problems. So I totally believe that there are going to be people on this call who are going to have better solutions, and I'm looking forward to hearing about them.
Yeah,
So
and
my
we
first instinct
actually,
would be to use pointers in this.
mhm.
Would be to start maybe at the left and do like a dual pointer, start at the left and at the right, and continuously move either of them in and see what the largest capacity we can find is.
I would even say, even like going more naive, just iterate over every single element. And then, so
Like,
for each, just do like an n squared, just iterate through every single element, and then compare it to the other elements in the array, and then just use a variable that you have stored and just look for the highest amount. So for every, so let's say I have like n, and let's use y or x and y. And so for every x, I iterate over each y, and I multiply them, and then I compare, and I say, oh, is this higher than my highest? And if it's not, then I go to the next one. I
so
wouldn't
how would
even
I
say
write that
that's
out
like,
in JavaScript? So help me with my
oh
JavaScript
yeah,
syntax.
okay.
So I don't remember JavaScript
So,
offhand.
okay, so you would do for let, I assume we're using, yeah, we would do let
Like this
I
and like
equal,
height.
no, sorry, I was looking for my glass earlier, so I can't really see. No colon, so it would be equals, and then zero, remove height, and then 0, semicolon, I less than
Length?
height dot length, yeah, semicolon, I plus plus, yeah. And then we could do a second for that just says like for let y equals 0. Actually, it doesn't even need to be 0. It can be x
Be
because we've
1.
already compared. It doesn't need to be 1. It could just be x because we've already compared the ones before.
Okay.
So, oh wait, and we want y.
Yeah, it's y less than.
Yeah, sorry. And then on line 15, those are supposed to be x's, not i's. I don't know why I said I.
Oh,
On,
because I'm typing and I always use I, so I'm just
yeah,
defaulting.
no, that's
All
fine.
right, there you go.
Okay, and then we have a total. Oh yeah, okay, so we've already have a declared variable up here. Let's see, that's good. And then we would say, okay, if x times y is greater than total,
Why
then
x times y?
because we are getting the we're taking, so let's say I'm trying to like, let's say we have like a matrix, and then but like in the matrix we're comparing like each one by each x by y. So maybe x and y aren't the best for these, but so what we're doing is we're comparing each one of the bars with all of the other bars in the array. So let's say in like the same array. So what I want to do is, oh wait, you're right. It would be, it's not x times y. It would
Yeah, because
be
it's the
the
lower of
length.
the two
You're
times
right,
2.
Okay, sorry. So
Yeah.
we actually need the difference from the index. So yeah, so let's move backwards. We would need the height. Right, the height. This would be a little more complicated then. Okay, so what we need is the lower of the two heights times the distance. So we would need the difference of the indexes, which we haven't tracked here, but we can track. So let's see. So when we're absolute of x minus y, yeah, that's what we would want. So what we would actually do is look at the absolute of x minus y. No, I'm getting confused. We need the index from this. So I guess we would just say, what are we doing here? We have like, oh, okay, yeah. So we already have the index. So we need to like get the difference from the index, and then we need to get it from the, okay, yeah. So sorry, we need the difference from the two. So let's just say like, let, I guess we already are using height. So we could say, let like we're already using X and Y, of course, which is not great. I guess we could try to rename those, but do we want to go back and do that? Yeah.
We can go back and rename, although I think this is a good,
or we can just stop
we've hit,
there, yeah.
Yeah, we've hit a good point, I think, to work into the groups. Danielle, we can continue talking about this one because I know you're going to want to. I can see it in your eyes. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to split everybody into breakout groups. I shared the link to this at the onset, but if anyone needs it, please just flag me once you're in the breakout rooms and one of us will come and get you the problem. What I suggest is have somebody share their screen and just exactly like Danielle and I were doing, just work it out together. See what kind of solutions you have. If you get really stuck, again, feel free to flag us. Happy to come and help with some ideas. And we'll see you in about 15 minutes. So let me see if I can get my breakout rooms ready. All right, see you all soon. For anyone who's left in the main room, if you want to get sent to a breakout room, just feel free to unmute yourself, or I'll stop sharing so I can see the chat room.